Hey everyone, I'm finally back with the drum video. So let's roll the intro and then we'll get into it. All right, so I'm finally back with the drum video, and I'm sorry it took so long. There's just a lot going on around here. We're getting in the final stages of our next song that we're going to release, and so I've been working on that. But I wanted to take some time out of my day here to finally get this done as I promised it. Anyway, if this is the first one of these you're seeing, basically we had a great response to our I Can See Clearly Now video, and so I've been making this series of videos showing you how we put the song together. And with that, I just wanted to give everyone another big thanks for all the views and the support. It's been really great. Just thank you so much. Okay, so I'm glad I had a little extra time to think about this video because I was afraid it wasn't going to be very interesting. Spoiler, it's fake. The drums are fake. So, I was just wondering, like, how can I present this in an interesting way? And hopefully I figured it out. So let's jump into the talkie box and I'll show you how I did this. Okay, here we are again in Reaper, and I got to do it. I know I've been harping on this in every video, but I got to do it again. That stuff to my left, if you could do some or all of that, I personally would appreciate it. The rest of the gentlemen in Repo Man would appreciate it. And you'd really be doing a lot to support us. So thanks in advance. All right, getting into these drums, I just want to get out ahead of this right away. I already said it in the intro. These drums are fake. Straight up fake. That might be divisive to some people. But it is what it is. So typically Mike would record drums, but that's a painstaking process. There have been cases where Adrian recorded drums, and that was a painstaking process. There have been cases where I've augmented the drums with fake drums. Anything can happen. We're just trying to get these songs out sounding as good as they can. In this case, and I'm reiterating something I've said in the other videos, we had 9 days to do this. We did it for a contest for a television news organization, and the deadline was fierce. We had 9 days. There was no time for the whole painstaking drum recording process. We live in different cities. We do this all remotely, and it just was, this is just how it had to be done. So that's divisive point number one, and hopefully I've spoken to that enough. Divisive point number two, for some, is that I did it in Logic Pro with my Macintosh computer. And to the PC Master Race guys out there in YouTube land, that's going to be a sticking point. And I can only say that, you can see on the screen right now, the main computer here in the studio is a PC. I love using PCs. I switched to PC for studio stuff, I switched to PC, I think, in 2021 or 2022. I can't exactly remember, but I've never looked back. I love having a PC in the studio. However, I've used Macintosh computers in studios since the 90s, and old habits die hard. I love using Logic Pro, and so that's a thing. Also, I have a studio. People bring me projects that they recorded in Logic. They bring me projects that they recorded in GarageBand. I have to be able to open those things. So I have various Apple products here in the studio, and I'm not ashamed of it. And I love using Logic, and I made these drums in Logic. So let's get into this. In Logic, I could have stemmed out the drums into individual tracks, but in the sake of time, I did not do that. I just recorded straight up stereo drum files, and the raw one sounds like this. In the track, it sounds like this. I can see clearly now. So now soloing that again, I'm going to show you how I've dressed this up. So if we listen to this just by itself, it sounds like it just sounded. Right? Everybody gets that. But I also made a room. And what that is, yeah, I guess actually there's a pretty good bit of room sound on this already. But then I malted the stereo track, the stereo drum track, and I added this Acon Digital Reverb Solo, which is a free plugin. Whoops. Sorry, I just pushed play accidentally. You should be able to go out and get this for free. And then our friend, the Analog Obsession SSQ again, and you can see I'm not really doing a whole lot with it. I'm adding a whole bunch of mid-range at like 500 hertz. So that's one thing about room mics. How much am I adding? 6 dB. So that's one thing about room mics is they're really mid-rangey and they have a lot of room sound. So what I'm doing here is I'm adding a reverb and then I'm adding a whole bunch of mid-range and I'm taking out low frequencies. I'm taking out 3 dB at 225. And then it looks like I've got a high pass at 133. So that, again, that's the thing about room mics. Tons of mid-range, not as much low end, and not as much high end. So with that together, that is the well, it's not dry because it has its own room sound, but that's the dry stereo drum track, and then also this room sound added in. So if I roll this again and I mute the room, you can hear what it's doing. So when this button is red, you're not hearing the room sound, and then when it's not red, you are hearing the room sound. So I'm going to start with it muted. So that's really subtle. I don't know how well you're hearing that on your YouTube video, but it is there. And the reason it's so subtle is because it's turned down quite a bit. You can see it's like turned down 16 dB. And so if I mute the original, you can hear how quiet this is. It just when I turn it on, it just adds this very slight little bit of brightness and just a little bit of character, and it is subtle. If you're listening to this on not very telling speakers, you might not be able to hear it at all. So again, I'm going to start with it muted and then I'm going to unmute it. Okay, and then the only other thing is I have some handoffs here, and these are a room crush. And so what I did was I took this room sound and I printed it down to another track, and then I compressed the snot out of it with this Empirical Labs Distressor plugin. This is not a free plugin, but you don't need it. There's lots of cool free plugins that you could use to beat up drums. Actually, did I cover that? No, you could see that. Sorry, I'm looking at my other screen to make sure you can see this. If I move it over here, I'm worried that I'm covering it up with my little window. Anyway, if you want to beat up drums, there's two good compressors that I can think of right off the bat. One is Rough Rider 3 to be exact. This is a great compressor for beating up drums, and it is indeed free. The other would be one we've talked about before, which is the Tokyo Dawn Records Molotok. Which looks like this. Both really great for beating up drums. So there you go. I have this distressor plugin, so I used it. Anyway, let's solo that. You can hear it's really quiet. I'm going to turn it up and let you hear it soloed. So that's just the room sound with a whole bunch of compression. And that's kind of like an excitement boost, right? So if I go over here and we see the drum tracks again, which is these gray tracks, you can see it's activating. So there's, what I did was I muted the sections where I don't want it, and then I left the ones where I left the sections where I do want it not muted. And so like that's the intro. There's a drum fill here. And then there's the bright shiny day lyric part. So basically what this does is anytime I want the drums to get a little more exciting, that comes in. And then of course at the end of the song, you know, it's in again. And you can hear the kick drum pattern there gets a little more complicated, and we're at our kind of zenith of excitement there. And in the tune, it sounds like this. It's gonna be a bright sunshine day. And then I guess it's also in the instrumental section here. Okay. So, in conclusion, I made a stereo drum track that sounds great, in my opinion. I made a room sound, which is super subtle because it's mixed in at a pretty low volume. And then I've got this room crush thing peppered in for excitement. And I want to touch on one more thing before I go, and that is ML drums. If you are not averse to the idea of using fake drums, and maybe you're a singer-songwriter, maybe you're like Repo Man and you're like super DIY and you don't have a drummer at the moment, this is a great tool, and it's free. You can buy add-ons for it, which is different than something like Easy Drummer, where you buy the initial piece of software at a premium price. And Easy Drummer's great. I'm not knocking it. I use it all the time. Love Easy Drummer. Easy Drummer fans, don't come at me with pitchforks. I love Easy Drummer. I've used it since version 1, but it is not free. And its add-ons are not free. So ML Drums is made by ML Sound Lab, and I think that their business model is interesting in that the initial piece of software is free, and then you buy add-ons for it. And so if you're interested in getting into making fake drums with a free tool, this one is awesome. And it has a really comprehensive mixer, and it's killer. So there you go. It's free. Go to ML Sound Lab's website. I believe it's, well, I mean, we can look. It is ml-sound-lab.com. There you go. There you go. ML Drums free. You can go get that right now. Anyway, thanks very much for watching, and I hope this was informative. And if you could do me a favor, if you haven't already done it, once again, that stuff on the left, I'd really appreciate it if you'd help us out. And so would the guys in Repo Man. And thanks for watching. Have a great one.